Joining me right now is the House Judiciary Committee member, Guy Reschenthaler. And Congressman, it's good to see you this morning. Thanks very much for being here. You were in the room on much of this in terms of this impeachment push. Where are we today? And tell us what the rest of the next couple of weeks looks like in terms of impeachment.
Well, yesterday what we had opening statements, and today we're actually going to do what's called the markup, and that's where we put amendments on bills and this resolution. So you're going to see us trying to put some amendments on the two articles today, and those two articles are abuse of power and obstruction of Congress. But yesterday I argued that the Democrats are only doing this because they can't beat the president on the merits. Remember, the economy is red hot, unemployment is at 50-year lows, and when it comes to abuse of power and obstruction of Congress, the one that abused his power was Adam Schiff. And those that are obstructing Congress are the Democrats in that committee. Remember, they voted down my motion to subpoena the whistleblower. That to me is obstruction of Congress.
Congressman, it's Dagan McDowell. What happened to bribery? At least that would be a high crime. Again, in these two articles of impeachment, these aren't actual criminal acts.
Well, Dagan, what happened with bribery is it morphed again. And I say again because the abuse of power charge is what I would call the vestige of the quid pro quo. So at first the Democrats were saying there was a quid pro quo. When that didn't poll right in Democrat focus groups, the language then changed to bribery. The Democrats, though, cannot make out what I would call the prima facie case as a lawyer. They can't make out the elements of the crime of bribery. So now it's this very vague term, abuse of power. But at the end of the day, this is going nowhere because President Zelensky did not know aid was being withheld when the president spoke. There was no investigation that the Ukrainians conducted. And remember, aid was eventually given to the Ukrainians, Javelin missiles. Obama gave the Ukrainians blankets and well wishes. President Trump gave them Javelin missiles.
Congressman, there are 31, as you know, members of the House, Democrats from districts that President Trump carried in 2016. How many of those do you expect will break ranks from the caucus and vote to try to keep their jobs instead of going with the caucus?
Well, I wouldn't want to be in the shoes of those 31 Democrats or in what we call battleground districts, because they're now boxed into a choice. They can either vote with their district, which supports the president, or they can vote with AOC. So I think that as cynical as I've been through this process, I think we'll only peel off a few of them, 5 or 7. If you would have asked me a week ago, I thought that Pelosi would not have the votes for impeachment. It was looking that bad. But they've got ways to twist arms, and they're really making these 31 Democrats choose between representing the people who sent them to Washington, D.C., or represent the far left wing of this Democrat Party.
Yeah, especially since the American people are going to go vote for their next president in less than a year. So to take him out or try to take him out before the American people speak is pretty extraordinary. I want to get to the other big story, and that's Michael Horowitz testifying yesterday on the origins of the Russia probe and the abuse in front of the FISA court. The Department of Justice Inspector General telling the Senate Judiciary Committee yesterday that while the FBI may have had a valid reason to start its probe, there were several failures in the investigation. 17 failures they called mistakes in terms of the FISA applications. So much exculpatory evidence where they did not include the evidence to the FISA court, such as Hillary Clinton paid for the dossier. The dossier was largely the reason that they were using to justify getting a warrant on Carter Page. Your reaction to what took place yesterday?
Yeah, I'm really disturbed by what I heard yesterday. Now, I got to say, I was focused primarily in the Judiciary Committee, but what I was hearing from the Senate was that there were serious problems with the FISA process. We need to review that. We also need to remember that the folks that brought the information to the FISA court, as you said, withheld exculpatory evidence. As a former defense attorney, as a former prosecutor, that's very disturbing. And we have to remember, too, that their political bias was never brought forth. These are the same folks that were saying they needed an insurance policy on President Trump. They're the same people that were tweeting, "Live the resistance," right? And that was never given to the courts, and it was never given to the FISA court that the person that started all this was a foreign agent that was paid by the Hillary Clinton campaign.
Yeah, and you know, I mean, I don't know why anyone is actually questioning whether or not the FBI surveilled Carter Page and the Trump campaign. I mean, we should stop dancing around this. Obviously, Carter Page was spied on for more than a year, and it was an opportunity for this cabal of individuals to get behind the curtain of the Trump campaign and then the Trump presidency. So it's pretty extraordinary that this went on even after the inauguration and the president was in place.
Well, Maria, also, why were the Trump folks not given what we would call defensive briefings? Because typically, if the FBI knows that someone's a target of foreign spies, they're given a defensive briefing. That was never done. Instead, the cabal of the FBI, the upper echelons, used it as an invitation to spy on the Trump campaign, a domestic political campaign. That should disturb everybody.
Congressman, I know you're in the House, but in the Senate, do you get what kind of a sentiment do you find among Senate Democrats? How enthusiastic or lack of it are they for this whole impeachment thing? I've been surprised by the silence of some of their leaders. I don't think they're very happy with what's unfolding, especially with the presidential campaign coming up.
Pelosi really gave them a mess to deal with. I think that a lot of Democrats will vote not to remove the president. And we got to remember, the bipartisan votes this entire process has been not to go forward with the inquiry. I think the bipartisan vote will be not to impeach the president in the House and certainly not to remove the president. But just wait until reality sets in with the senators. This is going to be a trial. They've got to be at their desks at least 6 hours a day, no cell phone. And they're going to have to sit there. They can't be on the campaign trail for those that are running for president. So just wait until reality sets in, and we'll see how those Democrat candidates running against the president handle this impeachment trial.
Yeah, Dagan, we were reminded about that yesterday when you saw Kamala Harris ask questions and Amy Klobuchar. They got to get to Iowa. They don't want to be sitting there.
Well, Kamala dropped out, so she's got a lot of free time on her hands to be in Washington. But Amy Klobuchar, Elizabeth Warren, and Bernie Sanders, do you think, Congressman, that they will give, say, Chuck Schumer an earful, even Nancy Pelosi an earful about you're stacking the deck against us by pushing forward?
Well, I don't think there's too much that Chuck Schumer can do in this situation because, again, Nancy Pelosi and the House Democrats have really boxed these candidates in. Once impeachment goes to the Senate, they can either dismiss it or take it up, but it's non-discretionary. They have to vote. And then once impeachment starts, everything shuts down, right? The Democrats have been saying they can walk and chew gum at the same time. That hasn't been true in the House. In the Senate, it's definitely not going to be true because the rules preclude it, because this is going to truly be just like a trial. So they're going to have to sit there and deal with this, and they won't be on the campaign trail. So what they're saying to Schumer, I don't know, but they really should be upset with Nancy Pelosi and the House Democrats for putting them in this situation. And also those 31 Democrats, I've heard in the House, I've heard whispers that they want to have a censure vote. It's too late for that. The far left radical base has pushed Nancy Pelosi and the Democrats in this situation. So they're going to have to vote. The congressmen in the House are going to have to vote, and the senators are going to have to sit there in a trial.
Right. So does this threaten Nancy Pelosi's speakership come 2020? Can the Republicans gain back the House? Because you're just not getting a lot done. I mean, what about this government shutdown? The House needs to pass appropriations bills before next Friday to make that happen. No shutdown. There's some hope after a defense spending bill was given the green light yesterday. What are your expectations on the budget? And are we going to see another continuing resolution? And what about her speakership?
Well, just two things on the budget. One, I don't want to see the government shut down. I don't think anybody does. But again, why didn't we pass a budget months ago? And this cuts against the argument that they can walk and chew gum at the same time, because we haven't funded the government. We haven't funded the military. As far as Nancy Pelosi's speakership, I certainly think it's at risk, because I think we Republicans in the House are going to take back the House in 2020. You have 31 vulnerable Democrats. You have more seats, too, that we can pick up. So I think we're going to come back stronger than ever. And I think you're going to see a Speaker, Kevin McCarthy, come 2020.
All right. We will leave it there. We'll be watching, Congressman. It's good to talk with you this morning. Thank you.
Thank you.